Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of Women Who Rock the World, changing the shape of the world today, one woman at a time. Today, with me, I have Sonya Achara.
Hi.
Well, welcome, Sonya. Sonia is a Marine veteran of 14 years. She's a bodybuilder, and today she's a life coach. And we're gonna talk to her and see how she went from a career in the military to her business today. So first of all, thanks for joining us, and thanks for accepting my invitation.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to, tell my story and kind of help get it out there to where it can help others.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, So, a woman in the military, it's something that, of course, it's becoming more and more common, but of course, it's still not as common as with men, and especially a few years ago, it was not as common. So, first of all, what made you decide for a career in the military?
So I guess I had actually gone to college and I got my bachelor's degree in kinesiology. So I was always an active person. I was always an athlete. I even ran track for SDSU. And so I kind of felt like after college, like I needed something else. I had tried to get different jobs here and there, and I was working as like a personal trainer, but I really felt like I was missing something. Like I wanted to do something bigger than myself. So um, the Marines of all branches, I was like, I could be a badass. So let me go join the Marine Corps. And so I kind of always resonated with that. Like just being that female that can do things that men can do and push myself past my limits, my physical limits.
Yeah, and I mean, okay, coming from someone myself that doesn't know a whole lot, probably I don't know anything about the military life, Marine. Um, how's the selection? I'm sure it's pretty tough to enter.
Yeah, so the Marine Corps specifically was more physically, if they focused a lot more on physical ability than on like I think the Air Force doesn't really do they don't really focus so much on physical, more so like how smart are you on the ASVAB. Um but and then I feel like the Navy just does like they're always on the ship, so it's a little bit different. And then the Army kind of, I guess they had like the lower qualifications. Um so but I do feel like the Marine Corps definitely was like a higher physical qualification and having to do certain things. Like I had to be able to do pull-ups while I was in the Marine Corps.
And I mean, as a woman, what did you see like being treated differently, while you were serving, from your colleagues and your superior, or how was it? How was it around you, And first, and then also, were there any other women as well?
Mhm. Yeah, so actually when I first joined the Marine Corps in 2010, it was actually when women only went to boot camp in Parris Island, South Carolina. So it was like a whole platoon of women Marines trying to become Marines. And so, but that was the only time in my career where I was around that many women. After that, it was rare to like there were some cases where I was the only woman in certain areas. So it definitely was. So I do feel like I always had to prove myself as a woman. Like I always had that anxiety of having to prove myself, and I have to like work two times harder than the men so that I can be as strong as them or stronger than them.
And then what were your missions? Where did you serve?
So I was deployed in Afghanistan for eight months in 2000. That was like 2012. And so I didn't necessarily see any combat myself. I was on a base working with other Marines, so it actually wasn't that bad of a time when I was out there. There were times where there were like threats possibly, to where I did kind of get a little paranoid and like had to carry my weapon everywhere and had to make sure that we were like ready. Um, but other than that, that was the only time I went to. That was the only time I really deployed. And then I was on recruiting duty for 3 years. That was rough. And so actually it was probably the most depressed I had been in my adult life when I first went out there on recruiting duty, because it was just so much pressure to recruit people. And I didn't like talking to people. I was taking the rejection really bad. But after a while, something sparked in me, I guess, and I realized that I was the only person that can turn my life around. And so I really just started having more fun with it, not taking things so personal, and focusing more on helping these future Marines become better people, and get them ready for the Marine Corps. And so I started doing a lot better. I started, they looked up to me, and I still keep in touch with some of them to this day, especially the females that I recruited.
And I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this part of like recruiting and helping people, to become better Marines in this case, I think it's part of your job today, working with people and
Mhm.
making them better in their lives. So was it before you decided to start your career as a life coach, or was it concurrent, or
So I will say my next duty station that I went to after recruiting duty, it was in Southern California, and that was when I was really focused on bodybuilding, and I was personal training people. I was actually coaching them for bodybuilding competitions as well. But that was when I realized too that people aren't going to be able to get their bodies right if their mind isn't right first. And so I kind of started leaning more into mindset coaching. And I was charging people for personal training, but I feel like I started more so coaching on the mindset. And I still didn't really charge what I was worth, because I was just trying to help people and all that. And then I guess I just started speaking. I started doing motivational speeches for the Marines, and they would it would pump them up. Like they'd have more energy after that. People would work hard. I mean, people would work better for me because of the way I treated them. And so I feel like I did learn a lot about leadership, and it was like, so the Marine Corps teaches about leadership, but there's not that many great leaders in the Marine Corps. I feel like there's a lot of toxic leaders because they might have been treated bad, so they treat others bad.
Mhm.
Um, but I always looked up to the good leaders and the ones that actually led by example, and that's what I strive to become. So then I do feel like all of that has kind of transpired into me, really being a good leader and being able to help people with their mindset. And I've even kind of evolved my business a bit more too, because in my last duty station, I went through, like, it was a whole toxic situation because my command was toxic. This was actually the first time in my career I had felt like I was being targeted because I was a woman.
Mm.
But before that, I never felt that way. Like, I never felt I was being targeted or anything. I just felt like I had to prove myself, and I always did prove myself. So I got a lot of praise for that. But this unit, like, they were really coming after me, and trying to get me in trouble with bad paperwork and all these different things. and I also happened to get pregnant with my son there too, and that was another thing. They actually found a reason to remove me from my position because of the pregnancy. And so it was a lot of things like it's like politics, because they can still kind of go around things. It's like they just find other reasons to remove somebody from a position or different things like that. So I definitely feel like that was um that was my cue that I needed to leave. And
Yeah.
at the same time, I was in a toxic relationship at home that I didn't realize. But I left both at the same time. I left the relationship and I left the Marine Corps at the same time. And I really had to get myself together first. But that healing journey has probably been the deepest healing journey. Like, I guess I would say that I had like a quantum healing experience, because I healed in such a quick amount of time. Like, I just started realizing all the things that I hadn't healed from childhood through those toxic relationships. And there was a lot of things I realized that started like up leveling me um, to the next level. And I feel like now I'm able to help people in a different way, like through toxic relationships, or if they're going through um, a divorce or custody battle with a narcissist. Like, I have like the playbook for that.
Yeah. So, like, what do people come to you mostly for? So it's like toxic relationships and custody battles, and is it more like on the personal side, but also on the business side, or do you see that there's more of one or the other, or sometimes they come like it's both. If one part of your life is falling apart, probably even work.
Yeah, so it really is like I feel like a lot of people are going through like either midlife crisis or like just wanting to find their purpose in life. So people have come to me for that, help finding their purpose. And then I do believe that since I've gone through the toxic relationship and have been able to come out victorious, I've been attracting a lot of those people that need help through that. So I do feel like that is what I'm starting to lean more towards, because it seems like they're just coming to me.
If
um,
there's if you could say just one sign, the biggest sign to, because a lot of people, we're talking women here, of course, but
mhm,
in general, like a lot of people might be in a toxic relationship and they don't realize they're in a toxic relationship because there's a lot of behaviors that are normalized,
mhm,
whether you like it or not these days. So if you had to say, like, the biggest sign for a woman that said that should tell her, like, okay, leave, or, well, other than, of course,
mhm.
physical abuse, because that's easier to spot, but
Yeah.
on the mental part, what if there's a sign or something that you would say, like, okay, this is might not seem like it's much, but this
Mhm.
is a lot, just go away.
Yeah, so I definitely believe that emotional abuse can be worse than physical abuse sometimes. Like physical, I feel like my body can heal, but emotional abuse sometimes takes people longer to heal from. And so just because you grew up in a unhealthy environment as a kid doesn't mean that it's okay. And that's why a lot of people are in toxic relationships, is because that's all they know. Like, it's normal to them. And that's how it was for me. Like, I actually grew up in a situation where my mother was a very toxic individual. And that's why as I got older, it was normal. I was used to not getting shown the love that I needed, or just being emotionally neglected, being manipulated to basically feel guilty about everything, feel like a burden, and just always trying to please those people in order to receive love, but then never receiving the love. Um, so that was something that I realized I had to get. I how I had to get out of that pattern. And that's what a lot of people, if you're in an unhealthy situation, like there should be no, like a healthy situation is a person not talking down to you, a person actually respecting you, a person respecting your boundaries, not getting upset because, you know, like there's a lot of unhealthy things where, you know, people get upset because you hang out with the opposite sex, or if you go, you can't even be around the opposite sex, or just a lot of different things that are unhealthy. Because if it's two healthy people that are together, like it shouldn't matter what you go do on a day-to-day basis. Like if it's what you do and you like to do it, you know, then there shouldn't be much of a disconnect. Like you should be able to communicate and actually, you know, be your own people, because you're two different people. But then when you do come together, it's happy and it's joyful. And I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but even when there are arguments, like it shouldn't be a situation where people are yelling at each other. And even when, if it's getting to that point where you're yelling at each other and you're arguing all the time, and a lot of people stay for the kids. But the thing that I realized is my son was starting to become unhealthy because of what was going on in the house. And so he ended up having to go to the hospital for breathing problems, but that was really because of the issues that was going on, the energy in the house. And so once I left and I got healthy, my son got healthier. And at first they tried to diagnose and said that he had asthma, mild asthma. But I know it's an energy thing because now that my energy, I'm away from any toxicity. All I bring is good things into my life, because I've consciously put the effort to just think in better thoughts and basically rewire my brain, um, in order to just attract good things into my life. And my son is thriving now. So, um,
Yeah, and it's unbelievable. And you mentioned the also talking about like bodybuilding, and of course the Marine Corps, and now this, like the common denominator is that once the mind is healthy, and it's wired properly,
mhm,
and the body, just works itself out of the situation, whether it's, I don't know, like losing weight or gaining weight, or becoming healthier,
mhm,
like you mentioned, like your son possibly being diagnosed with asthma, well, in reality,
mhm,
as soon as everything became non-toxic, he was healed, and it
mhm,
was not a miracle, but it's, so I see like this common denominator of the mind,
mhm,
overcoming and being our guide on so many levels and all of our lives. And
mhm,
so, as a life coach, because the our minds is so important,
mhm,
um how do you work on someone? Let's say you have a person that comes to you and says, I'm in trouble. I'm in a
mhm.
toxic relationship, my work is, I don't like it, I feel miserable. And so how does it work? Like, does it work in sessions, or how does it work?
Yeah, so I do sessions with people. I do like an intake questionnaire to find out, you know, basically just different things in their life that they don't like. And I look at I also look at patterns going on in their life, because I'm able to kind of see, um figure out like what their true passion is, and figure out the things that they're doing that aren't really working out for them. And it's because they're not being true to themselves usually. We're kind of brought up to do what everybody else wants us to do, what our parents want us to do, what our teachers want us to do. And we're not really being true to ourselves. And that's why a lot of people don't like their jobs, and they don't like what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. So I feel like I'm able to, since I've been able to get myself into a space, a certain space, I actually see things in other people, and I'm able to help them, you know, just get to their true get to their true selves.
Yeah, because sometimes we, I believe it happened to probably all of us, you know. It's kind of like we wear a mask, you
Mhm.
know, and we, at least in some points of our lives, you know, I'm not saying like some people probably do it their whole lives and maybe they're
Mhm.
miserable their whole lives, but of wearing masks to fit into something that is probably not made for us, that we
Mhm.
don't really like, but
Mhm.
sometimes we feel the need to conform or to be part of something that in reality we don't like and we don't belong to.
Mhm.
But that's probably where the disconnect
Mhm.
happens, and some people see this disconnect or don't know what goes on and say like, okay, I need to look for help, you know. Some of the people probably they don't, and uh why do you think, you know, because I don't feel there's like some people that are more enlightened than others, you know. It's
Mhm.
just about probably recognizing this disconnect. What, in your, based on your experience, what's, how do people realize that there's this gap between what they want and what they are or what they're doing?
Honestly, it usually comes from something intense, like basically like me realizing I'm in a toxic relationship and all this toxicity around me. It was like basically my breaking point to knowing that I needed to do something different, and I needed to look within myself, and at first I went to therapy, but then I actually kind of went through like an energy healing type of thing where it was like a spiritual awakening. And I know not everybody is necessarily spiritual, but I believe that we are all spiritual beings. So I definitely believe that there's I guess, an ascension path for people on this earth.
Yeah. um and so what, if I'm just talking about myself, I want to make a change today, you know. um Based on your experience, what would you recommend, you know, that people can do other than, of course, talking with a professional like yourself,
Mhm.
but on like a day-to-day basis, you know, is there something? I know everyone is looking
Mhm.
for a magic pill, you know, just
Yeah.
quick fix.
The magic.
And most likely there's almost never probably, you know, the quick fix, but
Mhm.
like what type of habits or something like that that people can implement or start implementing to better their
Mhm.
lives? It's a very general question, of course, because it goes
Yeah.
case by case.
Yeah, I do believe that everybody is different. So everybody has the things that lights them up the most. And I feel like that you should do a little bit of what you love every day, at least, like for me, I like to walk in nature, and I feel like walking in nature is very healing and grounding for me. And so I go out. I don't necessarily go out every day, but if I really feel like I need to, I'll just go out and walk in nature. And that's my thing. I also have incorporated like breath work and meditation into my life. Mantras actually have been really good, because I feel like when you start, we're so used to like thinking negative thoughts about ourselves that it kind of it just goes in cycles, and we keep staying in that cycle. But once we actually rewire our brain to be able to think the positive thoughts about ourselves, like there's nothing wrong with my body is beautiful, my face is beautiful, I am powerful, I'm capable of extraordinary things. Like those are things that I've told myself. And the key is to have the intention with the elevated emotion. So you have to like really feel it in the cells of your body when you're saying these things to yourself. And sometimes it just takes more repetition to keep saying it over and over until you start to believe it. Because that's how your brain works. Your brain, scientists have showed that your brain works like if you tell yourself, if you repeat something to yourself like I am powerful, I am powerful, I am powerful, like it's going, your body is going to start to do the things that that you're telling it to do, just because that's what it's made to do. So the more I was like saying these mantras to myself, and I'd go out for my runs and even say it while I'm running, while your body's moving. That has been like my biggest, I feel like that's been the thing that's helped me the most. But everybody has their different things that they enjoy doing. I do believe the mantras could help everyone and anyone, because that's just how humans are made. Like the way we speak to ourselves matters.
Yeah,
So.
I remember 2014 was a big like turning point
Mhm.
in my life, and together with meditation and going to therapy and like a lot of things,
Mhm.
something that really helped me with affirmations. Because sometimes, when I was telling the affirmations in my mind, I felt, I don't know, probably because I'm a visual person,
Mhm.
so I took like post-its and put them everywhere around the
Mhm.
house, saying like I am
Mhm.
powerful, I'm beautiful, like all the positive
Mhm.
affirmations, and around the house. So the first
Mhm.
places were like bathroom, because okay, I wake
Mhm.
up, that's first thing. Okay, I'm going to the bathroom and probably gonna look at myself in the mirror. Okay, just put like a
Mhm.
couple of them on the mirror, and then okay, kitchen, because that's where I go and get my
Mhm.
breakfast. And I put
Mhm.
yeah, I put one big post closer to my tea maker. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, and I believe like people have to find their own ways, and like for me,
Mhm.
affirmations were more into like the visual. Okay, I have to see it,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
worked.
Yeah,
You
and that's
know.
good too, because your subconscious mind catches those. If you have like motivational stuff all over your house, like it's only gonna help, because it's gonna, even if you're not looking straight at it, your subconscious mind catches everything. And so like your environment really does matter. That's why I do make sure that even the decorations I put in my house have like motivating words or affirmations or different things like that. So that's definitely a big help. I do feel like affirmations and is something that can help everyone.
Yes. So everyone listening, affirmations. That's
Mhm.
it works.
Mhm.
I can totally vouch for it, because that helped me and still helps me, because sometimes, of course, we have our ups and downs, and on the days that I'm like, okay, really, no, this is not working. No, I don't feel that powerful. Well, like you are powerful.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to, there are days that, I have to remind myself too, but it's just that, just constantly reminding yourself, and just staying in the habit of it.
Yeah, creating a habit of loving ourselves, I would
Mhm.
say. Creating, learning sometimes, because as you mentioned,
Mhm.
sometimes a lot of us maybe were born in not necessarily toxic families, but with
Mhm.
toxic parents. Sometimes they thought they were doing, their best, and
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
they were doing. They were doing their best with what they had,
With what they
and
had,
with the,
yeah.
yeah, and with the knowledge they had.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of negativity around
Mhm.
us, and negativity in the way that we're raised, again, unwillingly, of course, because none of our parents
Mhm.
probably wanted to do us any harm
Mhm.
willingly. um but then, and so it's, as you mentioned, like it's about rewiring our brain
Mhm.
into something that it it's here, and it fits us, and it fits the success that we want to have. And of course, I'm not just talking about
Yeah.
financial success or business, and being successful is about being, to me, is about being
Mhm.
healthy,
Mhm.
and healthy, of course, is not just about physical, but it's about mental. And
Yeah.
as you said, that mental part has a huge
Yeah, yeah.
plays a fundamental role, of course, in who we are. So
Mhm.
definitely, affirmations and rewiring our brain
Yeah.
to all the good that the world
Mhm.
has to give us, because there's plenty, and it's limitless, and
Mhm.
it has no boundaries.
Yeah, I definitely believe that being healthy, happy, and just grateful in the things that you do have every day is what constitutes like success. Like if you're able to do that, because people could be making a lot of money, but then they still feel empty. So they're missing something. But if you're just always looking within yourself, loving yourself, being grateful for the things that you do have, like people take for granted the fact that our bodies like breathe air on its own, that our heart beats on its own, and those are things that I try and take my time every day to be thankful for. um, just the little things, and you'll be surprised at how your life starts to change when you're thankful with the little things and things that you already have. Then everything you always wanted like starts to
Flow, yeah.
come your way.
Yeah. And it's not magic, it's
Mhm.
energy, it's life.
Yeah.
That's what we're surrounded from. We're surrounded.
Yeah. It was how the universe was created.
Yeah,
It's
universe.
like everything's supposed to be flow. People are not supposed to work hard. And that's the thing that I've had to get through my head too, is because I'm so used to like hustling and trying to like do everything to be able to be successful. But really when you're just being yourself and you're doing what you love to do, that's when the success starts to flow more easily and effortlessly.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you mentioned about working hard totally resonates on like, I remember my parents kept telling me, if you work hard you're going to get results. And again, it's not an excuse of like not working hard and not doing
Mhm.
things, but the thing that you have to hustle and just drain yourself,
Mhm.
to be successful. It's something that probably 80 or 90% of the people have been taught, you
Mhm.
know like you have to be super tired. That's the only
Mhm.
way
Like
that you,
exhaust yourself.
yeah, just exhaust yourself, because that's the only way that you feel that you've worked.
Mhm.
Otherwise it's not work. And this is something that at some point in my life I said, like, you know what, no, it doesn't have to be that way. And that doesn't mean that I don't want to work or I don't want to work hard.
Mhm.
It's just that I, first of all, work smart or smarter.
Mhm. Yeah.
um, that doesn't mean that I'm not working hard. It means that
Uh-huh.
there are different ways of doing things.
Mhm.
And also, um, just things flow. Is life is a river, and
Mhm.
it's and things come not necessarily when we struggle to get them.
Mhm.
Life shouldn't be a struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I can attest just to my life at the fact that I worked hard for a lot of years, just being in the Marine Corps, I'm working hard for that paycheck, and it's like they can just work you to the bone, for when I was on recruiting duty, I was like working 17-hour days. So for that same paycheck. But it's like now I've slowed myself down. I do what I love to do every day, and I'm making more money than I ever did before. So I definitely believe in like the laws of the universe and how you just have to get aligned and in flow with the universe, and things just start happening for you. And you just have to have faith in it too. You can't just be in living in fear your whole life.
Yeah, yeah, because fear doesn't get along with flowing.
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
energy
exactly.
kind of blocks it.
Mhm.
Well, Sonia, thanks so much. I mean, we could go on talking about this, of course, for hours.
Yeah.
So much to say, but I think we gave people and women out there listening to us like a little hint uh,
Mhm.
of the possibility, out there, and the type of work that they can do on themselves, you know,
Mhm.
with the help of a professional like yourself, but also like little tips and tricks,
Mhm.
if I can say so, to start doing something for themselves, like
Mhm.
affirmations, just start somewhere, see how it goes.
Mhm.
And then if they want to move forward, of course, um, just look for help, and then dive
Mhm.
further into their their potential, because it's limitless.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely say we have limitless potential. We just have to believe it, and then we have to focus in on what it is that we actually want. Because a lot of people don't know what they want. So definitely focus in and ask yourself, what is it that you really want, and then focus on it and just let things go, let it flow.
Yeah. So people are gonna find your social media links below here. So if they want to contact you directly, start following you,
Mhm.
etc. And yeah, thank you so much again for accepting my invitation. And um, yeah, speak soon.
Yeah, of course. I had a great time. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.